You know what happens when we get older? We finally realize our time and energy are like gold, too precious to waste. After years of being there for everyone else, we learn a simple truth. Our peace of mind matters. Look around. Some people in our lives lift us up, others drain us dry. Could be old friends, family members, or new folks we've met. We've put up with certain behaviors for years, but now it's time to ask, is this relationship still good for me? Today, let's talk about 5 types of people you might need to quietly step back from. Not out of anger, just because you've earned the right to spend your golden years with people who actually make you feel good. Before we begin, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more wisdom advice. Let's start with the biggest challenge many of us face as we age: the energy drainers. You probably know exactly who I'm talking about, even if you've never put a name to it before. 1. The energy drainers. As we get older, we start to realize that having energy isn't just about being able to walk around the block or tend to our garden. It's about having enough spark left to actually enjoy our days. But there are certain people in our lives who seem to drain every bit of that spark, leaving us feeling completely exhausted. You know the type. They're often people we've known for years. Maybe it's that friend who calls every single day with a new crisis, or the neighbor who drops by unannounced and stays for hours, dumping all their problems on you. They mean well, but every conversation with them feels like running a marathon. At first, we want to help because that's who we are. We've always been the shoulder to cry on, the listening ear, the problem solver. But here's what really happens. They talk for hours about their troubles, never taking any advice, never making any changes. And when you try to share something about your life, they barely listen before steering the conversation back to their problems. You start noticing how these relationships affect you physically. Your stomach tightens when you see their name on your phone. You find yourself making excuses to avoid their visits. After they leave, you're too tired to do things you actually enjoy, like having dinner with your spouse or FaceTiming your grandkids. It's like they've sucked all the joy out of your day. The solution isn't about having a big confrontation or cutting them off completely. Instead, it's about quietly protecting your energy. When they call, you can say, "I can talk for 15 minutes, then I need to start my evening routine." When they want to visit, suggest meeting at a coffee shop instead of your home. This gives you a natural way to end the conversation. If they launch into another problem spiral, gently ask, "What do you think you'll do about it?" instead of trying to solve it for them. Look, at our age, we've earned the right to choose how we spend our energy. It's not selfish, it's smart. Think of it this way. If someone kept asking to borrow money but never paid it back, you'd eventually stop lending to them. Your emotional energy is just as valuable as your money, maybe even more so. Speaking of people who can wear us down, let's talk about another type that might be affecting your peace of mind more than you realize. 2. The chronic complainers. Getting older has taught us a lot about life, including how draining it can be to spend time with people who see everything through a negative lens. These aren't just folks having a bad day. They're the ones who have turned complaining into an art form. You know exactly who they are. Every conversation becomes a laundry list of what's wrong with the world. Their doctor doesn't understand them. Their children don't visit enough. Their neighbors are too noisy. And don't get them started on politics or the weather. Even good news gets twisted. Their grandchild's graduation becomes a complaint about the traffic to get there, or a friend's recovery from illness turns into a lecture about the healthcare system. What makes chronic complainers different is their resistance to solutions. Suggest joining a senior center to combat loneliness. They'll give you 10 reasons why it won't work. Recommend a new doctor. They'll tell you why every doctor in town is incompetent. They don't want answers. They want an audience for their unhappiness. The impact on your well-being is subtle but significant. After spending time with them, you feel heavy, like you've been carrying their burdens. Their negativity is contagious. You catch yourself seeing problems where you used to see possibilities. Your own optimism built over years of overcoming life's challenges starts to feel fragile. Even your physical energy drops. An hour with them can leave you feeling more exhausted than a day in the garden. Here's how to protect your peace without becoming harsh. When they start their usual complaints, gently redirect the conversation. Yes, winters are harder now, but isn't it nice how the community center offers indoor walking? Keep your responses brief and steer toward solutions. If they persist, it's okay to say, at our age, I try to focus on what's going right in life. It helps me stay healthy. Set time limits for these interactions. Meet for coffee instead of lunch, or take a walk together where there's a natural endpoint. Sometimes you might need to be more direct. I care about you, but I find too much focus on problems affects my own health. Remember, we've lived long enough to know that life has both sunshine and rain. Our remaining years are too precious to spend them in the shadow of constant complaints. It's not about abandoning people. It's about choosing to walk in the light and inviting others to join us there. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for them and ourselves is to show that there's another way to view life's challenges. Now, let's explore another type of relationship that can test our patience in a different way. 3. The kindness takers. If there's one thing we've learned over the years, it's that kindness makes life richer. We're the ones who cook meals for sick neighbors, babysit grandkids in emergencies, or drive friends to doctor's appointments. That's just who we are, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But there's a particular type of person who sees our kindness not as a gift, but as a resource to be used. They start small, borrowing things they never return, asking for emergency help that becomes routine, or needing temporary financial support that's never repaid. What makes them different from people genuinely in need is their pattern. They take and take while treating your generosity as their right. Watch how they operate. That one-time request for a ride becomes a weekly expectation. The occasional favor turns into regular demands. When you help, there's rarely a genuine thank you, just an immediate request for the next favor. They've mastered the art of making you feel guilty if you hesitate, often saying things like, "I thought we were friends," or "I'd do it for you," though they never actually do. The toll on your well-being goes beyond just time and energy. You start feeling used, your natural generosity turning into resentment. The sight of their name on your phone brings a sense of dread. Your own needs get pushed aside because they've consumed all your resources. Worse, you begin doubting your judgment about helping others, and that's not fair to the people who truly deserve your kindness. Here's how to handle these situations with grace. Start setting clear boundaries without guilt. When they ask for help, it's perfectly okay to say, "I'm sorry, but that doesn't work for me today." Don't feel pressured to explain why. Learn to distinguish between genuine emergencies and manufactured ones. If someone needs a ride to the emergency room, that's different from wanting a lift to get their hair done. Keep track of what you give, whether it's time, money, or energy. If you notice it's always one-sided, start gradually reducing your availability. Remember, real friendships have balance. Sometimes you give, sometimes you receive, but it all evens out over time. The wisdom of our years teaches us that true kindness shouldn't leave us feeling depleted. We've spent decades learning the difference between helping and enabling. Our compassion is precious. It should be shared with those who appreciate its value, not those who see it as their personal ATM. Sometimes, the kindest thing we can do for ourselves and others is to say no, allowing them to develop their own resources and resilience. Let's move on to discuss another challenging relationship that becomes more apparent as we age. 4. The Silent Belittlers. At our age, respect isn't just nice to have. It's something we've earned through decades of living, learning, and overcoming life's challenges. Yet some people have a way of making us feel small, and they do it so subtly that we sometimes question if we're just being too sensitive. These silent belittlers are masters of the subtle dig. They wrap disrespect in a candy coating of fake concern or backhanded compliments. "It's amazing you still drive at your age," they say, as if being competent is surprising. Or they'll respond to your opinion about current events with a patronizing smile and, "Well, things are different now than in your day." Watch how they behave, speaking to you slowly as if age has affected your comprehension, interrupting your stories, or dismissing your suggestions with a casual, "That's old-fashioned thinking." Their behavior follows a pattern. When you share an accomplishment, they minimize it. When you voice an opinion, they dismiss it with a gentle pat on the hand. They might talk over you in family discussions or exchange knowing looks with others when you speak. The common thread? Each interaction leaves you feeling slightly less valued, slightly less relevant. The impact cuts deeper than just momentary hurt feelings. You start second-guessing yourself in conversations. Maybe you find yourself holding back opinions in family gatherings. You might even begin believing their implication that your age has somehow made you less capable, less worthy of respect. That confident person who's navigated decades of life's challenges starts to fade, replaced by someone who feels the need to apologize for taking up space. Here's how to handle these situations while maintaining your dignity. First, recognize that their behavior reflects their limitations, not yours. When they make belittling comments, respond with quiet confidence. "I'm quite comfortable with my abilities," or "My experience has taught me a lot about this." Sometimes a steady look and silence can be more powerful than words. Start documenting these interactions mentally, not to build resentment, but to confirm your perceptions. When you notice a pattern, it's okay to address it calmly. "I've noticed you often dismiss my input. I've lived through experiences you haven't yet faced, and my perspective has value." The wisdom we've gained reminds us that respect isn't a courtesy. It's a reflection of the life we've lived and the knowledge we've earned. We don't need to defend our right to be heard, but we can choose to spend our time with people who value what we bring to the table. Sometimes the strongest response to disrespect is simply redirecting our energy toward those who appreciate the wealth of experience we carry. Speaking of challenging relationships, let's look at another type that can test our patience in a different way. 5. The one-upper friends. After decades of building friendships, you'd think sharing life's moments would be simple. But there's a specific type of friend who seems to view every conversation as a competition. The one-uppers. They're the ones who can't let you enjoy your moment without showing how theirs is bigger, better, or more impressive. Watch their patterns carefully. Share news about your grandson's graduation, and they'll jump in with how their grandchild got a full scholarship to a better school. Mention your weekend trip to the beach, and they'll launch into stories about their month-long European vacation. Even health challenges become a contest. Your knee surgery story gets trumped by their more complicated medical journey. The key sign? Every conversation somehow turns into their spotlight moment. This behavior shows up in predictable ways. They listen to your stories not to share in your joy, but to prepare their winning response. You'll notice their eyes light up, not at your good news, but at the opportunity to top it. Even in group settings, they'll interrupt others' stories to redirect attention to their more interesting experiences. And heaven forbid you achieve something significant. They'll have done it twice, 3 times, or even better. The impact on your well-being is more significant than you might realize. You start hesitating to share your joys, knowing they'll be overshadowed. Those special moments, your 50th anniversary celebration, your first great-grandchild, your award from the community center, stay unspoken because you're tired of having them diminished. Worse, you might begin doubting the value of your own experiences, wondering if they're not good enough to share. Here's how to handle these situations while keeping your dignity intact. When they start one-upping, acknowledge their story briefly, but return to yours. "That's nice about your cruise, as I was saying about my weekend at the lake." Don't compete, it only feeds their behavior. Instead, own your experiences with quiet confidence. If they interrupt, calmly say, "I'd like to finish my story first." Set conversational boundaries. When meeting, have a specific topic you want to discuss and stick to it. If they try to hijack the conversation, gently but firmly bring it back. "I understand you want to share your experience, but I'd really like to finish telling you about mine." Sometimes limiting one-on-one time and meeting in group settings can help dilute their competitive nature. The wisdom of our years tells us that life's moments are precious because they're ours, not because they're better than someone else's. We've lived long enough to know that joy multiplies when shared genuinely, and every experience has its own unique value. True friendship at our age should feel like a comfortable chair, a place where we can relax and be ourselves without having to prove anything. Now, as we wrap up our discussion of these challenging relationships, let's talk about how to move forward with grace and wisdom. As we embrace our golden years, we've earned the right to choose how we spend our precious time and energy. Stepping back from draining relationships isn't about being unkind. It's about honoring the wisdom we've gained through decades of living. Remember, you don't need a dramatic exit or lengthy explanations. Your peace of mind is worth protecting, and sometimes the kindest thing we can do for ourselves and others is to quietly create space for more positive connections. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your joys, respect your experiences, and add light to your days. Share your city in the comments below, and hit subscribe to join our community of wisdom seekers.